Hey everybody, good morning. So it's February the 4th, 2019, and we are moving right along in our Proverbs reading. And today we are reading chapter 11 of Proverbs, and for Proverbs we read the book in its entirety. Okay? And so the scripture reads, "The Lord detests dishonest scales, but accurate weights find favor with him. When pride comes, then comes disgrace, but with humility comes wisdom. The integrity of the upright guides them, but the unfaithful are destroyed by their duplicity. Wealth is worthless in the day of wrath, but righteousness delivers from death. The righteousness of the blameless makes their paths straight, but the wicked are brought down by their own wickedness. The righteousness of the upright delivers them, but the unfaithful are trapped by evil desires. Hopes placed in mortals die with them. All the promise of their power comes to nothing. The righteous person is rescued from trouble, and it falls on the wicked instead. With their mouths, the godless destroy their neighbors, but through knowledge the righteous escape. When the righteous prosper, the city rejoices. When the wicked perish, there are shouts of joy. Through the blessings of the upright, a city is exalted, but by the mouth of the wicked it is destroyed. Whoever derides their neighbor has no sense, but the one who has understanding holds their tongue. A gossip betrays a confidence, but a trustworthy person keeps a secret. For lack of guidance, a nation falls, but victory is won through many advisors. Whoever puts up security for a stranger will surely suffer, but whoever refuses to shake hands and pledge is safe. A kind-hearted woman gains honor, but ruthless men gain only wealth. Those who are kind benefit themselves, but the cruel bring ruin on themselves. A wicked person earns deceptive ways, but the one who sows righteousness reaps a sure reward. Truly the righteous attain life, but whoever pursues evil finds death. The Lord detests those whose hearts are perverse, but he delights in those whose ways are blameless. Be sure of this, the wicked will not go unpunished, but those who are righteous will go free. Like a gold ring in a pig's snout is a beautiful woman who shows no discretion. The desire of the righteous ends only in good, but the hope of the wicked only in wrath. One person gives freely yet gains even more. Another withholds unduly but comes to poverty. A generous person will prosper. Whoever refreshes others will be refreshed. People curse the one who hoards grain, but they pray God's blessings on the one who is willing to sell. Whoever seeks good finds favor, but evil comes to one who searches for it. Those who trust in their riches will fall, but the righteous will thrive like a green leaf. Whoever brings ruin on their family will inherit only wind, and the fool will be servant to the wise. The fruit of the righteous is a tree of life, and the one who is wise saves lives. If the righteous receive their due on earth, how much more than the ungodly and the sinner?" So that's the actual scripture reading. And just to go over some of my notes, what I wanted to point out, it was just like three things that I wanted to point out. But one, in verse 4, wealth is worthless in the day of wrath, but righteous delivers from death. When it's talking about the day of wrath, it's referring to when we die, or when the time comes that God settles accounts for all people. And on Judgment Day, everybody will stand alone and have to be accountable for all of our own deeds. So that's important because we cannot blame others for our own actions. Sometimes we want to, and sometimes it's even logical to blame others for our own actions. Well, maybe I act like that, or I have negative actions towards a person because, he hurt me, or she stole from me, or she harmed my family, or he caused me to lose, my job all over a lie, or it's a lot of things that in our own self, in our own way of thinking, it justifies us kind of mistreating people or being ungodly. But we still have to remember that we have to be intentional, and even when being intentional, it's hard sometimes to do right. That's why who we surround ourselves with is important, because you need to be surrounded by people who will tell you the truth and who will pray for you, and even if you get mad, they still will tell you the truth, because that's love. I wanted to point out also in verse 7, hosts placed and mortals die with them. All the promises of their power comes to nothing. The righteous person is rescued from trouble. That's verse 8. And it falls on the wicked instead. One thing that I wanted to point out about that in those two verses, God's people are not excluded from the problems or struggles. Now, if a person follows God's wisdom, he can rescue us from trouble, but a wicked person will fall into their own traps. So even if good people suffer, we can be sure that we ultimately will be rescued. It's not saying that we won't have troubles. It's all about how we handle them, and understanding that God will provide, and He will help us, and He will solve those problems. We've all seen it time and again. What was it? Oh, okay. When it's talking about giving freely, verse 24, one person gives freely yet gains even more. Another withholds unduly but comes to poverty. Verse 25, a generous person will prosper. Whoever refreshes others will be refreshed. Those two verses is like a paradox. That we become richer by being generous. The word says to hold on to as much as possible, but God blesses those who give freely on their possessions, time, and energy. When we give, God supplies us with more so that we can give even more. We've all heard it. God sends blessings to those He sends blessings through. If God knows He blesses you with $1 million, but you won't bless anybody else, it's hard to believe that He's going to continue to bless you with those things, because God works through human agency. That's what it's all about. We're all here. I say it all the time. People say thank you, oh thank you, oh thank you, oh thank you. But really, I'm thankful to God, because only reason that I can be a blessing to somebody else, or the only reason somebody can be a blessing to me, is because God blesses them enough to be able to be a blessing. So He blesses me enough to be able to be a blessing. But that's it for today. Have a great day. Don't forget to love on each other. Pray for one another and check on one another, okay? Life get busy, I know, but let's just do it while we can. I love you guys. Just thank God for another day. Everybody be blessed, and we'll be back tomorrow moving on to chapter 12. Bye. Oh.